So I'm starting my part about Softneta and who is Softneta, what we are doing. So Softneta is founded in 2007. Since the beginning, we worked in medical visualization. Our product name is a MedDream. So this product name is more known for the vendors which use this product in combination with various systems for medical visualization. So historically, we was always based on the web technology. In early 2007, our product was based on Flash. Since 2016, it's based on WebGL and Java, and it's fully zero footprint viewer. So it means you could use this viewer with any platform which exists in the world. It could be Apple, Mac, Windows, Linux systems, and it gives possibility for users to access in the diagnostical way the data and visualize that. So what changed in the market over these 13 years when Softneta exists? If you could see in early 2007, it's only 100 million was on the market, which need to view the medical data, diagnose that, and work. So since now you could see, but it's coming close to the population because everyone now understands the benefits of telemedicine. The patients is more involved in the clinical care, and they want to be also involved in the process, so they need also access their data, they need to see it, they need second opinion, they need discussion with doctor. So more and more vendors need to include the web technology and web viewing in their solutions. So this gives them pressure to search for solutions which gives them opportunity to view a data in the certified way. So where is Softneta in value chain? So Softneta is located as a technology partner, and typically we give our products to another vendors which integrate our solution in their solution, and then they communicate with distributors, and distributors deploy the solutions in hospitals. And the users of that technology, of course, is doctors, insurance, or patient. So a little bit on architecture of our solution. So our product is constructed in such a way that it could be integrated to any existing infrastructure through several standard interfaces. One of interface is a direct communication with file system, where we read data from the file system, or through database we access files and streams files to a front end for end users to investigate the images, signal data, or videos. And then it's of course most fast way when we could achieve milliseconds. And another unique point, what our rendering is done in the front end. So it's mean we are end user rendering company. So we use the video cards, which is in your phones, tablet, or PCs to render the data. So it gives the scalability, whereas we have implementations where millions of patients accessing the data through one server. And I would say it's only a few companies worldwide achieve such scalability like Softneta did. And another way is through WADA protocol or through DICOM query. So it's all archiving systems at this point could be accessed through our MedDream, and the MedDream also support multi-systems supervision. So it could be you have very complex infrastructure in the hospital or even in the country, and you could use only several instances to achieve the viewing. So it's a little bit your background about Softneta, and now I want to introduce Frédéric, which produced, in my personal opinion, very interesting solution, and the way how they operate in the market is also very innovative, I would say. They give open source archive for the partners, customers, and they so strongly believe in their team that they even not afraid to share the source. So please feel free, Frédéric, to take from me the word, and please introduce your team and company now.
Thanks, Vytautas, for the introduction. I'm going to try to share my screen. I think it's going to be working. So about Orthanc and Osimis. So Orthanc is, as Vytautas said, it is an open source DICOM server. It is actually the most known and the most widely used open source DICOM server around. And it has been there since 2011 when Sebastian Jardonje started working for the university hospital here in Belgium, in Liège. So what makes it so special is that it has been built from the ground up to be compatible with web technologies. So it comes with DICOM web abilities. It has a REST API. It is also very much focused on sharing images and organizing imaging workflows. It's lightweight. That means that whenever you download Orthanc or you use a Docker image of Orthanc, you can immediately start storing images in Orthanc without having to connect an additional database to it. So that makes it very easy to start working with it straight away. And you can still plug another database to it in order to make it more scalable. And so there are additional storage plugins that allow Orthanc to be able to store up to 30 terabytes of data. And we're currently actually working on extending that limit and making it endless. It is completely cross-platform, so it's actually C++ code, which makes it possible for this code to be run on a Windows machine, on a Linux machine, or on a Mac. And also it comes with a Docker engine, as we'll show you later. It's completely scriptable, so this server, you can actually make it do a lot of things by just writing a simple script, and that can be Lua scripts. And recently we deployed a Python plugin, which will let any developer interact with the API over Python. So it's a free software, as I mentioned. It's published under the GPL and AGPL licenses, which are copyleft, so actually rather restrictive, and I'll tell you more about that later. It is free, and yet it is industrial grade, so you can actually start using it without having to buy support from us. We do, however, provide support on top of Orthanc for companies that are using it within their systems, whether that is in a commercial product or simply for quality purposes. So I first started talking to you about the server. Then there is also the plugins that Orthanc comes with. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a plugin for writing Python scripts and using the functionality of Orthanc through Python. There are also storage plugins, as I mentioned, and we recently published some cloud storage plugins, which will let you deploy an Orthanc easily onto the Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud platforms. We also developed open source web viewers. Actually, those web viewers were there from the start. And is actually the first one we developed is the black one you see here. It's the radiology viewer. So you might be wondering why we're working with Softneta, but the reason we are working with Softneta is because they provide a certified viewer. So long as you don't need a certified viewer, you can obviously keep on using the Orthanc viewer, and so on. So the viewer is also DICOM web compliant, and Orthanc comes with a plugin that makes the full server DICOM web compliant. There's an authorization plugin which will let other applications basically offer a way to proxy the authorizations of their application over into Orthanc. And then last but not least, there is a whole slide imaging plugin that will do two things. The first one is to DICOMize whole slide images, so digital pathology images, and then we'll also make it possible to render those images in a viewer that really feels like a Google Earth application, where you can zoom in and out onto different levels of the whole slide image. Now, about Osimis. So Orthanc was created in 2011, and in 2014 it won the Free Software Foundation Prize, which is somehow the Nobel Prize for coders, if you will. Before Orthanc, it was Python, and there was also Ruby. There was a Wikipedia Foundation that won that prize. And so the guy who won it, who was called Sebastian Verdogne, told some of his friends, we need to build a company around this. I keep getting requests for people to extend the code, but I'm not the commercial guy and I don't want to do that. So we basically founded Osimis in 2015 to provide an answer to those requests. And then we got funded. We're now active in over 14 countries. And well, since we've got a large user base of Orthanc, whatever we build is also is very much an extension of the user input that we get. So the business model that Osimis runs is, first of all, well, we have Orthanc, and we offer services around that piece of software. So those can be support services, as I mentioned earlier, but mostly custom development services, where basically companies like the ones you see here in the image are asking us to extend Orthanc with particular features. And I'll give a quick overview of some of those features that were developed in open source by sponsorship of the companies that you can see here. So Orthanc has been downloaded over 700,000 times since it was first published in open source. It's actually becoming quite difficult to track down the number of downloads with Docker, and also with the fact that, well, the source code is available in open source, so anyone can compile it by himself. So this figure is actually way lower than the reality. So the first part of the business model really is around services, and then we also have a business model towards hospitals, where we provide an additional user interface on top of Orthanc for hospitals to be able to start sending, sharing data, and so on. But today we're going to be focusing on the open source bit, the services part, and this actually focuses on a group that is integrators, software developers, medtech companies. And here's a list of some of the custom developments that we as a company did for some of our customers. So GE asked us to extend the feature of accelerating the transfer of exchanging images. So we basically built that in open source, and this plugin was then published in open source, and GE paid for that under the form of a sponsorship, basically. Same thing happened for Deutsche Telekom, who paid for the storage commitment feature. Then we have some custom developments that we did for IBA. So IBA is the leading proton therapy provider, and they are building a kind of quality assurance system, and so therefore they needed us to be able to render CTs with RT-DOSE and RT-Struct on top of that. And then last but not least, we also developed a plugin for Google, which enables any PACS basically to start pushing DICOM data directly over DICOM Web into the Google Cloud Healthcare API. So those are just a few examples. We obviously have a lot of other customers that we served and that we did custom developments for, but these are some of the very nice examples, I think, of custom developments that we did. And then we also get contributions. So Varian is the latest example in that series. They developed the DICOM CGET feature for us, and so we completely integrated that back into the product. And now I wanted to take the time also to highlight the way Softneta makes use of Orthanc. So I mentioned earlier that Orthanc runs on Docker. It can be, you can easily get access to the Docker, the Orthanc Docker, by just entering this command line. And if you enter a second command line, well, you will actually start running the MedDream viewer right next to it. And so with these two command lines, you can actually start using Orthanc and the MedDream viewer. And so the advantages that come with the use of Docker is that it is basically operating system agnostic. It makes installation and maintenance of your software much easier, and therefore it will also make the software delivery cycle much faster. And you can therewith also optimize the use of the system resources. A question we get asked a lot of times is whether a commercial company can use their can use Orthanc within their product. And the simple answer, the short one is yes, you can, but there are a few conditions. And the long answer is, well, since Orthanc is published under the GPL and AGPL licenses, it is copyleft, which means that normally, if you start changing the code, you are supposed to be contributing the code back to the community. There is an option not to do so, and then you can basically buy a dual license from our company, which will basically be a kind of sponsorship for us to keep on maintaining Orthanc, and also to add on new features and make sure that there's also a continuous implementation of the new features in the DICOM standard. And so we're basically the open source reference implementation of the DICOM standard. So if you want to get some more information about that, you can definitely get in touch with me directly after the call. Then yeah, maybe I also wanted to highlight some of the features that make Orthanc a nice open source project. Don't know if there are people out there that know about open source and so on, but we can maybe elaborate on that later. Vytautas, you had some questions for me, and maybe there are some questions also from the community here that's listening to us.
Yes, so thank you for the Osimis introduction. So I hope now our attendees have more understanding about where is operating Softneta, where is operating Osimis. And today's discussion just to share our experience about two teams collaboration, because as I introduced in the beginning, the main business where Softneta is working is a technology partner, to be a technology partner for the other companies which deeply need some medical visualization and need flexible solution which could be rebranded and put it in the product. So today's discussion just to share them experience how the process was going, and what is your experience as a partner of Softneta, which is already using the Softneta product in some your business cases where you said is needed the certified viewer for the diagnostics. So first question, because I know that it's mentally it's very hard for the producers, developers to decide, but I want to focus somewhere and to start collaborate with someone. First question, was hard for you to decide what you would like to collaborate with Softneta on the viewer, because everyone saw even in your presentation that you build it and you're building your own viewer. So what was the reason and how you come to this idea?
Yeah. Okay, so some history here. So we've got a series of customers here that use our Li-Fi platform, which is a product that is we're actually investing in. It's not open source. This is the closed source part of our company, and in that product we got requests from customers to have a certified viewer, and we used to have our own certified viewer, and we used to be doing that by ourselves. Now, being still relatively small company, we decided that it was time to stop doing this certification by ourselves, because we found that it is a business in itself to do that. And we thought it was better to focus on the server side of things and on the medical integration, well, the imaging integration part of things. Because building a viewer actually involved doing a lot of stuff that other people had done before us, and whereas doing the server part, well, that is something we knew we were best at, and so we felt it was necessary to focus on that. This doesn't mean we're no longer developing the viewer. We still keep on developing the viewer for companies that don't need certification and that have very specific rendering needs, like IBA, as I mentioned, with RT-dose and RT-struct, very often related to radiotherapy and oncology in general. So that's how we decided to go and look for a certified viewer. And in doing so, we basically went to the RSNA, and we went to all the DICOM viewer shops, and we compared about 10 products. And we did a very thorough comparison with all the features, and we checked whether it was DICOM web compliant, whether the viewer was really zero footprint, what were the performance factors, also what kind of distribution agreement is there behind this, what is the initial cost for setting up, how do you guys provide support to us if we need some. And well, out of that comparison, really, it was very clear that Softneta was the number one, both in terms of features, in terms of support, in terms of philosophy of the agreement that we would be able to start working upon, and that's very well. It's very great to see also that people are very genuine when you interact with them, which is not necessarily the case when you're talking to a big supplier that has a lot of people that are selling their product, and so it's much more authentic, and we really felt there was a very nice fit between our companies, and that's basically why we decided to do so. And now I can also go back to well, one step further. Once we decided to do it, everything went actually rather quick. The decision fell in around I think December last year, and then we signed in I think March, and then we now have customers that are onboarded with the products that we got sufficient support from the Softneta team, which is very reactive. So I thought that was a very well great experience that we had.
Yes, and what I could add, what from Softneta side, we was also very pleased when you come to talk with us about a viewer, because like few years before we met, we already start, actually not we, but as you said, plenty of vendors was already used it, where Orthanc archive for several tasks, and we already had the integration with your open source, with our viewer, and also our PACS Lite version is also based with Orthanc, where we are putting our viewer on top of Orthanc, and we just using your API to call the data from that PACS, and plus it was a very good, I would say, collaboration, because it gives the both way benefits, like now we also share the Swisscom in our portfolio together. So I'm also very glad that our recommendations was also listened by Swisscom, and they decided that part of a solution also will be based on Osimis solution. So it's in my opinion, it just show the future of medicine, where collaboration is taking huge part of that, because even for the biggest companies, like in your picture, we can see GE or other companies, they also need from us smaller companies some unique solutions where we are best on the market. So this shows, in my opinion, the market is going, and especially with IE appearance, where IE industry is dominated by small or micro companies, where companies trying to achieve some specialized solutions. So in my opinion, more and more this collaboration will be in the future. But I'm very surprised by your business model, because it's only few companies in medicine trying to build the company around the open source. So I would like to ask you next question, Frédéric, about your opinion. How do you come to this idea to give your product as open source? How you go over this mental, I would say, break, which is for Softneta, it still exists, to reveal your code and still expect that people will come to you? And what is your opinion about future? Is you feel that the open source will come more and more to the market?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'd like to stress the fact that open source doesn't need to be a religion. I can totally understand people that don't like open source. And so I don't make it a point to start trying to convince people that open source is the best. I just am convinced that it is a very nice way of doing business. But I'm not the one who actually came up with the idea. The one who came up with the idea is Sébastien Jedogne, who actually started creating Orthanc because he started working in the university hospital, and wherever he went, he ran into the same problem. He was asked to develop interfaces with radiotherapy solutions that needed to be able to interact with PACS systems, and every time again he was running into the same interoperability problem, which the only way he found a solution was to build what was initially just a small package, and then gradually grew to become the neutral archive that you can use to store data temporarily. You can send data to it, it stores it, and then you can have a script doing it to do anything you like with it, and then push it further to another DICOM node. And that's how Orthanc started. And basically, the philosophy behind it is open science. Sébastien Jedogne is a scientist. He's a doctor in training. I mean, a PhD, not a doctor, not a medical doctor, but a PhD in informatics. And he truly believes that doctors are basically currently still subject to a lot of problems just due to simple interoperability problems. And by building stuff the open way, we can actually reduce a lot of those hurdles. And that's basically why we are very happy when people that use Orthanc also contribute back to us, because that makes this shared resource much richer. And so with this resource becoming richer, well, everyone becomes richer. It's actually a kind of well, if you will, it's a kind of a communistic way of looking at things. But everyone can basically benefit from the science that was developed by someone else on the other end of the globe. And that's a very universal way of looking at things. And we're solving universal problems, which I think is a very noble thing to do. And that's actually what drives us. We obviously also need to be able to sustain our business, to be able to make the stuff open source. We need also to have revenues. And that's why we need to be creative in the ways we get those revenues. But the value we create is definitely being recognized by our customers. And they totally, well, there are so many companies out there that are using Orthanc for so many different reasons, that well, a lot of them actually start contributing under different forms, whether that is by replying to questions in the forum, or by contributing code, or by contributing financially. As far as your question regarding the future of open source goes, I think there's a clear trend towards more openness. Microsoft has been a very, very nice example of that. That doesn't mean that the closed ecosystems will all disappear. but there's a clear, better understanding of what open source is and what it can bring to the community.
Yes, so I would like just to say that my idea is also very close. But you said, like our company also since the beginning, we try to be as much as possible to be open. Everyone could go to our website and log into our viewer, try it online. We have also a project which is called DICOM Library, where anyone could freely upload the data. It will be anonymized and also try to open or to share it. So yes, and we even have experience with some of our customers where we need to achieve a task, and for that task we need to reveal our code. So we had also experience to reveal that, but mainly I would say two reasons why it's still MedDream is not open source. One reason is for security, because it's less hackable solution, because a viewer also is very sensitive, because through viewer you could access to some data which is, you know, it's very personal. So as Softneta, together with our partners, we put our product for hackers. Last year it was put in some systems where 500 hackers tried to hack it, and it was bug bounty for the finding a security hole. So this I would say security reasons and other stuff also still prevent us to be so open like Osimis. But I still hope that in 5 years we will come to some even more open things like Osimis do. My next question is more regarding the artificial intelligence. So because you are focusing on the data acquisition, data archiving, data transmission, Frédéric, what is your also ideas about the artificial intelligence future? Because so many companies trying to produce some specific artificial intelligence solutions. Do you believe that the archiving will be like a platform which will unify the data flow to artificial intelligence and as result acquisition? What is your opinion? How you feel?
Before I answer that question, I quickly want to go back to your remark
Yes.
on open source and security. We are actually in favor of thinking that putting our code in open source makes it more resilient from a security perspective, because anyone can review the code and can say, hey, there's a bug there. And we actually can get a lot of contributions from, well, all the people that downloaded the piece of software and that have tested it against a lot of different various kinds of issues and security aspects. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that actually, yes, open source is also a very good strategy towards security. That's just to comment on your point. As far as AI goes, I think AI is really still in its kids' shoes. We're only really at the beginning, and it still lacks. We're actually starting to reproduce the same problem that we found with regular PACS systems, meaning there's a problem with interoperability. And so all systems should be fully DICOM compliant, DICOM web compliant, in order to make it possible for AI algorithms to start working. But before that, there's even another problem. It's compliance regulations, and more specifically, privacy compliance regulations that are making it very complex to train algorithms. And you know that training an algorithm takes it requires such huge amounts of data that the hurdle that we need to overcome to get access to the data is actually becoming the biggest blocker. That's one thing. And also, I think there's a lack of regulation by an authority that still needs to be defined regarding the validation of the efficiency and the specificity of algorithms. For the moment, it is the provider himself that says, hey, my algorithm, I've done it this way, I'm CE marked, but there's no real and clear way for anyone to be able to review that. And so here, open science again, I think, could bring some good points. I also believe that the ESR, so the European Society of Radiology, or the RSNA, have a role to play in that. They have to become the authority. But in order to be able to do that, they need to have their own blank data set that is completely agnostic and that has never been used by any of the algorithms that have been built, in order to be able to validate in a very objective way that algorithms are effective or not. So that's another point. And then regarding your question on, well, what is the role that the archive is going to play? As I mentioned, I think there's a lot of need for interoperability. There's upcoming supplements to the DICOM standard that are clearly targeting a structured way and a completely standardized way of doing AI and of integrating AI into the workflow. But currently, it's still the wild, wild west. It's a few companies that are doing it the very closed way, in that they distribute their products directly to the hospitals, and well, they just do it their way. There's no real consensus yet on how it should be done, and so I think that's going to be a hurdle. That is really a technical hurdle, and that is basically one that comes in parallel with the compliance hurdle, so the GDPR and data protection hurdle. Yeah. So that's really my opinion about AI. I think we should start talking about that again in maybe 4 to 5 years, because yeah, as you mentioned, it's still a lot of micro companies that are coming up, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that's also where you wanted to drive the discussion towards. With Orthanc, and there are so many of those companies using it, we are actually providing a standard for companies to interact with each other. And that's I think the beauty of Orthanc. That's the reason why 60 to 70% of all AI companies use Orthanc to build their integration engines upon. And that's also what we built Li-Fi for, in order to be able to interact with those AI providers nicely, such that the output of the algorithms can be displayed nicely into the Softneta viewer.
Yes, this is that's why I give this question, because we also felt from all our IE partners that all of them actually 100% using Orthanc in the backend for the communication to get data, send back results, and other stuff. But I see that we have some questions, and our discussion time coming to the end. So I believe we need to pay attention to our attendees and answer the questions. So Renata will read the questions, as I saw, mainly for Softneta, but I saw about endoscopy, about some data acquisition. It will be probably joint answer. So Renata, feel free to ask questions, and I will try with Frédéric to answer the questions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for participating, and we have some questions. So I'm going to read them. One we have, I guess, for our guest speaker. So it is, can you share experience using and integrating with GCP Healthcare DICOM API? My personal impression was that there are some overlapping functions with Orthanc. So thank you for the question. And Frédéric, could you please answer?
I'm very happy to answer that one. It's I think it's a very easy question to answer. So Orthanc, in its server capabilities, has the same features as GCP. Indeed, it basically is a DICOM web server, except that GCP has Fire, has HL7, has a lot of other stuff that we don't have. So definitely from that perspective, from the server perspective, in the cloud, there's an overlap. But what Google doesn't have, and that's the reason why they paid us to build this plugin, is that they don't have an on-premises tool to interact with PACS systems. Google basically stays in the cloud. They never come down to the ground, if you will. And so they needed a tool that is universal and that would allow any PACS to start sending stuff to the cloud. Sending stuff, but also retrieving stuff. And that's where Orthanc, and especially the plugin that we built for Google, comes in and offers the bit that Google doesn't really know about, and they're not aware of all the complexity of hospital integration. They are very much cloud-centric and therefore have to rely on people like us to basically be able to integrate with their customers.
Okay, one more is in order to use MedDream Viewer at scale, this needs to be cost-effective. This, together with the accelerator Orthanc, would certainly be of interest to us. How do you make this cost-effective? Other parts of the open source technology also show promise of synergies. Could you please answer Vytautas maybe first?
Yeah, so how typically our pricing system is based? So as our major partner is another vendor, so typically we agree on specific pricing according to our partner's business model. So we have scalable licenses up to unlimited license, which could give access to not limited number of users to one server. And typically the pricing come to some percentage of the case. So typically we're not exceeding more than 15% of a business case delegated to the web technology. So it's more, you know, on the partnership, quite similar business strategy like Osimis is doing is mainly the support money, the new features development, and the license itself is more revenue sharing based on several parameters, like how many concurrent connections, and then we could have one-time pricing, we could have a revenue sharing or SaaS model where you pay only what you are used. So this flexibility in the pricing models gives us a scalability and good price for our partners, because if our business is very transparent together, so we always could find a solution where any vendor could be profitable by using our technology.
I also quickly wanted to add something regarding our part of the business model. So there's definitely the free approach. You just download Orthanc. As I mentioned, it's just 2 command lines away to install Orthanc with Docker and then to install the Softneta viewer. For the Softneta viewer, you obviously will need a license, which you don't need for Orthanc. But we can provide you additional support if you need support for integrating Orthanc with cloud storage, for example. Or so basically the source code is available, but it's not compiled. We can compile it for you under the form of a service contract that we agree upon with you. We can also help you in building the right architecture, in scaling your architecture with us through Docker, through Kubernetes or other technologies, because our team is busy day in, day out doing that and just that. So that's really what we specialize in, and that's basically the support and services model that we have. And well, if you for some reason need to change the code, we can do either custom development for you, or if you and if then the code has been built and you don't want it to be public, you can also buy a dual license from us. So it's basically this triple business model where we have services, dual licenses, and in those services we have custom development and support.
Yes, and what I could add, so like proof that we are one of the most scalable solutions together with Orthanc is that the most successful startups which trying to build a global services is based on our technologies. For example, Simrad startup, which is already connected more than several thousands European radiologists in the community, is based on both of our technologies because it's have very nice integration to the Amazon services, so we can scale very easily our solutions because it supports Dockers, Kubernetes, and the licensing is also adjusted to this infrastructure, which is actually no one else at this point support that because, as you know, Amazon scales virtual machines, and the licensing is also quite big issue if we speak about commercial viewers to support this cloud infrastructure. So yes, so I would say if you need a scalability and the good costs, yes, this is a solution for you.
One more question. Can you share database foundation in Orthanc for long-term storage? Can we use additional database like MSSQL or Oracle?
So MSSQL is available, MySQL is available, PostgreSQL is available. I'm afraid we don't have any Oracle.
One more question. What is the progress and planning for the Orthanc plugin? The current one is not optimized and struggle with large database.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that indeed. So currently, Orthanc can handle up to 30 terabytes of data. And we're now working towards a solution where, well, we're actually going to make Orthanc endlessly scalable, which is a rather big rehaul of the product in itself. And so, well, the investigations have been done. Coding is going to be starting soon, and well, I don't have an exact date available yet. But if you have particular questions, don't hesitate to contact us on info@osimis.io.
Yes, but what I would like to ask to Frédéric, but add to Frédéric, but you always have solution to deploy several Orthanc systems, and because MedDream have this capability to support multiple instances, so you easily could have a Orthanc keeps like a 20 terabytes of data. You deploy additional Docker, which you put your data stream to this additional Docker, and MedDream supervises all of these Dockers and can view data immediately from all of them. So this could give you unlimited size for the data.
I would call that a workaround, which is nice for some time, but I wouldn't run with it for a long time.
Yes. But I'm speaking till you will develop it. If it's,
for example, so definitely
showstopper at this point.
Yeah. So it's a temporary workaround that you can use. There are other ways to work around it as well, but we'd rather work on a fully scalable solution than have to keep people in a situation that's not always user friendly. But so far we've never had any like complaints of people saying that the database completely crashed. In some circumstances, it's slow, but it's not necessarily due to Orthanc. It's mainly due to the infrastructure it's running on. But if there are some experiences with that, please feel free to share it on the forum so we can investigate and improve our way of tackling the problem towards the future.
From our participant, a note that he was talking about MedDream one.
Okay, so yes, as Frédéric said, our integration with Osimis now going more tight and tight because more joint projects. So yes, we definitely will upgrade the plugin dedicated to Osimis to improve the performance and have more tight integration on the security part or on authentication. It's going on, and we have not one but several projects where we together working with Osimis team on even drawing new integration ways of MedDream to Orthanc system.
A longer one: can we view videos from different sources from an OT for a particular period? Example: capture videos from endoscope, vital signs, room camera. When doctor should be able to view all three simultaneously by clicking once. Doctor should be able to see the procedure captured through endoscope and corresponding vital sign for that particular period in a particular layout BIP.
Yes, so it's a question dedicated to the MedDream. So I will try to also share the screen and go to our website to show something and try to answer as much as possible. So at this point, you definitely could view the video data from as many, as you see, I'm going to online demo of Softneta. You could also easily come to the same page. So yeah, so I'm logging in. Yes, so now we could go to some operating data and try to see. Here we have several cases, like one from microscope case, another like from fundus, and another one like free several. So if it would be free videos, you could place it and watch. There is still no synchronization between different studies of data, but you definitely can view all of recorded videos from operating rooms, endoscopy rooms in the MedDream easily. We have some discussion with several vendors about possibility to do synchronizations and view the data in synchronical way, but it's still under discussion and not in the short term roadmap. But like for example, we talking with some vendor about do a synchronization between the pathology images and CT studies. So I think within some future with some bigger vendor, if it comes and if it will be critical for them to view videos in correct way, so it could happen. But yes, what unique is in our viewer, but with video you could work like with image, you could rotate, you could adjust it. It's not like YouTube. It's a video with all tools included in the viewer. So I hope I answered the question to participant.
Okay, thank you, Vytautas, for the answer. I also have one short question, because one participant asked about the price of MedDream DICOM viewer and is it customizable. So Vytautas, could you please comment on that?
Yes. So as I mentioned, the price really depends on the way how our partner vendor will use our product and what services it need from us. That's why it's a really just we need to understand the business case behind and how it will be used by our partners. So this is that's why it must be directly discussed. And then, of course, we reveal our pricing according to the selected services which will be used from Softneta. And regard customization, yes, so it's a fully rebrandable solution. And in the most cases, when the MedDream is used, it contains some customization. So like, for example, I could just reveal one example again, just to understand difference and how it could be customized. So like with one of our partners, where we are building a ophthalmology viewer based on Softneta technology. So one minute I will show. So here is some example of customization of our product. Here is the product name is Orbit. This product used by Finnish company Optomed is the leader in the fundus camera handful fundus camera producement. And here is some example how it looks. So as you see, it's fully rebranded the user interface, fully rebranded the buttons, even functions. It's here we have several artificial intelligence companies integrated in the viewer itself. So here, like Mosaic integrated, we have also some filtering integrated over this video you could see. So as I said, our company is focusing to do proper integration for our partner. And our goal is not the Softneta brand. Our goal is the solution which fits the partner needs. So then I hope it's also now more clear how Softneta is do rebranding or do customization of the product. It's really depend on our partner needs. So I believe we already finished our timing. If you will face any questions and if you like to contact Frédéric, me, please send the email to us and we will forward it to Frédéric, or we answer ourselves if it will be dedicated to Softneta. So many thanks for all participants. I hope you find useful our webinar, and please join us for next.